Welcome to the Prophecy Club. I've got L.A. Marzulli on, and we're excited to have him back. Who is he? Well, he's author of 9 books. He gives you the truth about the coming deception, Luciferian endgame, and what is probably going to cause millions of people to be deceived into denying the Christ and accepting the Antichrist. He recently went to Peru, and he's got some fascinating things. I think you'll be riveted to your radio. So, L.A., welcome to the Prophecy Club.
Stan, thanks for having me back on. Always a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so why did you go to Peru?
Well, the reason why we went to Peru was because I was on YouTube, maybe 3 years ago. And when I was on YouTube, I began to see pictures like this. And I'll send you a JPEG so you can cut that in if you want to later. And these were elongated skulls.
Right.
They were very unusual. And I immediately said to myself, you know, what are we really looking at here? Now, the man who was posting these videos is named Brian Forrester. And so I struck up a dialogue with Brian, and one thing led to another. And we basically led a tour down to Peru, a collection of people. We had an archaeologist. Judd Burton was on the first tour with us. We had Joe Taylor from the Mount Blanco History Museum, who was there with us also. And Joe took cast of the skulls. I can show you that in program too, maybe, what some of those things look like. And of course, the JPEGs will give you a better idea. So we had Richard Shaw, my business partner, co-director and producer of the Watchers series. And we went down to Peru to examine these. And what was incredible was, you know, we landed in Lima. I've never been to Peru, and it's very, very much of a third world country. It's a two-class system. The 1% or 2% very rich, and then everybody else is equally poor underneath that. But the people are wonderful there. The food was delicious. We had a great time, and of course, we trekked out to Paracas. Paracas is right on the coast of Peru. It gets basically 0 rainfall a year, but there's underground rivers that come down from the Andes. And so you get these green belts, these incredible green belts that you just drop some seed in and stuff will just grow. It's amazing. And so farming has been going on there for thousands of years. But the reason why we went was because of these elongated skulls, the Paracas people. They were called the Paracas people by archaeologists and anthropologists because they were found in and around Paracas. And these skulls are elongated. We really don't know what these people called themselves. They had some very, very interesting high-tech artifacts that we found. For instance, the weaves of their textiles, and their textiles are absolutely extraordinary. We get nothing even remotely like it until modernity, until the modern age.
Really?
The textiles will have between 450 and 550 threads per inch, whereas Europeans, let's say 2,000 years ago, when these textiles were being made, were 150 to 250 threads per inch. So
then are you trying to say they had some supernatural help?
What do you think?
Yes, I do.
And that's the theory, and I'll get to that.
Good question. You handled that one real good.
Yeah, you got it. The hypothesis that we went down there with was this. 3,500 years ago, Joshua and Caleb went into the Levant, went into the Promised Land,
right,
with a mandate, wipe everything out. Now, that's genocide. In the modern era, we would look at that and say, that's genocide, and there's no way around it.
You don't do that, yeah, right.
Unless something else is going on.
That's right, yes.
And of course, the something else is the tribes that were there were Nephilim tribes. They were hybrid beings. They were half angel, half human. I call them the soulless ones. The Amalekites, the Amorites, the Zamzumines, the Emims, the Rephaim, the Nephilim, all different tribes perhaps, and perhaps with different genetic characteristics found in the Levant. And this is why the mandate goes out to wipe them out. So as Joshua and Caleb begin to move in to what is known as the Promised Land, the land of Canaan, or the Levant, we think that some of these tribes, when they saw what was going on, they fled. They fled. They went northward into Europe and basically wound up and crossing and coming down in the Americas. We'll get into that. Some of them went out the Mediterranean Sea. We know this from Thor Heyerdahl's work, and I talk about that in Armor Trail Volume 1. Thor Heyerdahl with Kon-Tiki and Ra. Kon-Tiki was when he sailed on the Pacific Ocean in a basically a reed boat, and the same thing he did sailing out the Mediterranean from Egypt in a papyrus boat and wound up in the Gulf of Mexico. So we know it's possible. A third possibility is they came down through the Red Sea and out that way. So you've got 3 different places where these Nephilim tribes escaping the attack of Joshua and Caleb and the Israelites could have gone. Now, if that's the case, if that's our hypothesis, then we should see evidence of that. Guess what? We believe we do. Is it conclusive? No. And this is why we're still on the trail, still uncovering artifacts. We've got archaeological digs that we're working on. We've got artifacts that we're trying to get tested. We've got archaeologists down in Peru, anthropologists in Peru. We've got archaeologists up here in the States, one in Spain, all working together with the Peruvian government to get the proper permits we need to go in and take DNA testing from these skulls. But here's the deal, Stan. When we went into the Paracas Museum, we know that the Paracas people, and get this, they show up about 3,500 years ago. Whoa, that fits the timeline almost perfectly with Joshua and Caleb and the conquest of Canaan.
Right.
And they have these elongated skulls. Now, the critics will say, okay, there's cradle headboarding, and this is what elongated the skulls. And cradle headboarding, I understand, I know what that is. When they take an infant and they bind the head, they wrap it, and they shape the head. I understand that.
Yeah, but you can't make the head twice as big as it normally would. Okay, you can shape it, but you can't do that. What that picture you just showed me, you can't do that by squeezing the head. You can't make it 2 times bigger.
This absolutely blew us away. We went down on a second expedition to Peru, and we were able to unwrap a baby mummy skull. And this baby mummy skull was found in the Changos Necropolis. Changos is an area where the Paracas people that show up 3,500 years ago basically buried their dead. It looks like the Sahara Desert, and it's been raided for about 500 years, literally about 500 years.
Well, in case someone is asking, well, why would you go try to find these giants? I would say that not only is it curious, but doesn't it also prove the Bible is true, because the Bible said this?
That's why we're on the trail.
That's right.
It proves the biblical narrative. It points back to the supernatural.
It also
That's why we're doing what we're doing.
It also points to the last days.
Absolutely.
Okay, as in the days of Noah, so also shall the coming of the Son of Man be. You go back to Genesis 6:4. What were they doing in Genesis 6:4? They were playing with the genetics, because he said
that's what's going on
they were
now.
mighty men of old, men of renown, and you look up that word in the Hebrew for old, it means eternal. In other words, these guys, these pre-flood sons of God that came down and the offspring, they were not dying. Now, most people hadn't picked that up, but they weren't dying. That's big stuff.
I totally get it. So here, this is what the skulls look like, and the baby skull is on the right there. You can see it. Right. It's all wrapped up. It's a mummy skull. It's on the far left-hand side of the picture. And the Changos Necropolis. This is the area where the grave, where the Wakaros, the grave robbers, took the skulls from.
Okay, now this book you're showing me here on Skype, this is available. We're going to be offering this. They can get this book, so you can get all these pictures here on the Trail of Nephilim 1 and 2. You've got 2 different books, right?
Correct. Okay. And this is on the Trail 2. We talked about some of this is on the Trail 1, but Senior Juan, who was the curator of the Paracas History Museum, which I dedicated book 2 to, allowed us the second time we were down there to unwrap the baby skull. This is unprecedented.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Aaron Junkins was our archaeologist. Joe Taylor, once again, did a lot of the proceedings, very meticulously unwrapped it. It took about 6 hours. We believe it's about 2,000 years old, based on some carbon-14 dating that we took from small pieces of fiber that came from the skull, not the skull, but the wrappings. So we think it's about roughly 2,000 years old, which is the end of the Paracas era. That's when they sort of disappear and just no one knows what happened to them. It is absolutely incredibly enigmatic. So
okay, so now what about DNA? Skull. Did you get any DNA from any of these?
No,
I mean,
we can't take human remains out of Peru without permission, and that's what we're trying to do. It's been 18 months of paperwork, of archaeologists. We've got abstract. I think we're really close, but so far, we don't have the permits to do that. Once we get the permits, we're on a plane, and we take the team down and we extract the DNA.
What would this mean if you finally get to extract, and if you find DNA that is not human, that it is some kind of hybrid? What does this mean?
Well, I'll get to that. I want to show the folks what this thing looked like. First of all, the Darwinian paradigm insists that at the end of the last ice age, when the Bering Strait was a landmass, people from China and Eurasia basically came over the Bering Land Bridge, the Bering Strait, the Beringian theory, okay?
Right.
And they populated the Americas. They were out here, searching megafauna. I don't believe that. I believe some of them came over, but certainly not all of them. I believe that the Phoenicians could have found the Americas almost 4,000 years ago. Why not? They were seafarers, and men have a desire to explore. What's over the next mountain? What's around the next part of the island that we're looking at? Where does this continent lead to? If we go here, is there something else? And I think they explored. So there's two theories. Most archaeologists and anthropologists hold to the theory that everyone were isolationists, that no one did this. I completely disagree with that. I think that people explored and looked around and wanted to see what was over the next hill. So according to the Darwinist and the Beringian theory, that we should see, when we unwrap the skull, we should see a baby with black hair, fairly coarse, normal skull shape. This is what we saw.
Wow. What is that? That's not even close to human.
And that is strawberry blonde hair, and here's a frontal shot of it. This is taken about 5 minutes after the baby was unwrapped at Senior Juan, holding it out in front of the Paracas History Museum. You'll notice that the hair is strawberry blonde, the skull is greatly elongated, and it begs the question, is that cradle headboarding when they deliberately elongate the skull, or is it something else?
No, it's not cradle headboarding, okay? Let me just explain what I'm seeing here, guys, okay? The head is about 4 times the normal size of what you would expect when you look at the eye-nose-mouth ratio. It's about 4 times larger, the back part of the skull. It is not human. Not only that, but the eyes, I'm going to say, are about 2 or 3 times larger than they should be according to the nose and mouth openings.
This is sort of a poor picture of it, but you can see that's a normal child next to it.
Yeah,
and there's the skull. So you can see that it's much, much larger than what a normal head would look like, a normal child's skull would look like. And of course, we were completely taken aback by what we were seeing.
So this is a sons of God coming down and mating with the daughters of men, offspring.
I can't say emphatically that it is, but that is our hypothesis. We have what we believe is a preponderance of evidence that we've been gathering from different corners of the world, which seems to show that there's an outside agency manipulating the genome. There's only 2 possibilities. It's extraterrestrials, or it's the fallen angelic host, which in a classic sense are extraterrestrials because they don't reside here. But the bottom line is it points back to the biblical narrative of the Nephilim, of the fallen angels having sex with the women and creating this hybrid creature.
Either one does away with atheism, and it does away with evolution.
Many of the Darwinists, like Richard Dawkins, go and hold on tenaciously to panspermia.
Oh, yeah. So I can imagine the elite are fighting against getting this information out really hard. They do not want this out.
And you can have your folks keep us in prayer. We're under attack like you can't believe.
Oh, I believe it,
yes. Levels.
Yeah, okay, so is your phone being tapped and strange people following you?
Not yet, but there's monkey business going on, absolutely.
Okay.
So here's the deal, Stan. A man by the name of Lloyd Pye came upon a skull called the Star Child skull. Now, Lloyd passed away several years ago. Lloyd was interested in the Paracas skulls, and he arrived at the Paracas Museum several years before I even knew about them. And he took out small samples to be tested. And I've spoken to the geneticist. They're very inconclusive, but the mitochondrial DNA that was extracted from the samples from Senior Juan's museum show that the mitochondrial DNA was not Homo sapiens sapien, was not Neanderthal, and was not Denisovan. It was completely unknown. And he was absolutely taken aback by that. It whets your appetite, but it's very inconclusive. In 1842, several primitive archaeologists wasn't really a discipline then as it is now, were down in Peru, and they were examining these elongated skulls. And this debate raged in academia even back in 1842. There was one camp which insisted that all the skulls were cradle headboarded. And another camp were saying, okay, we get it. Some of the skulls are cradle headboarded, but others are not. What was interesting, and we show this in On the Trail of the Nephilim, Volume 2, both books are they're oversized books. They're 8.5 by 11.
Yeah, these are huge pictures, full color pictures. They look very nice. You can really see them.
Pictures. Yeah, absolutely. What we discovered there was absolutely incredible. And show
let me also say, guys, I know that you're going to want this DVD, and I recommend that. But let me also say, in addition to the DVD, you're going to want to get these books. So while he's finding that, let me just tell you right quick the offer. You're going to just go ahead and pull your cell phone out right now. Let me give you a phone number to call, 785-266-1112. Now, he's going to tell you he's got actually 8 DVDs in a set, and we ask a gift of $120 for it. And you're going to also want to get these 2 books, On the Trail of the Nephilim 1 and 2. Again, these are oversized books, nice size, with full color pictures. I mean, these are the kind of books that you lay on your coffee table for visitors to come over and look through, okay? And each one of those books is $25. You're gonna have to get the whole package. You're gonna have to get the whole package. Go ahead, get your cell phone, 785-266-1112. Right now, type it in, 785-266-1112. I bet we don't even have it on the website yet. So call 785-266-1112. Back to you, L.A.
So here we go. It's in 1842, and this debate is raging between the academics, certain portion of academics who were saying all this is cradle headboarding, and other guys are going, we're not so sure about this. So these 2 guys, and they wrote about it in the journal, and I've seen the journal. I mean, it's online. You can go online. It's Peruvian Antiquities. More still, the same formation of the head presents itself in children yet unborn. And of this truth, we have had convincing proof in the sight of a fetus enclosed in the womb of a mummy of a pregnant woman, which we found in a cave. Basically, what's going on, the woman was about 7 months pregnant. She was mummified. So they went in and they see this female mummy, and they realize she's pregnant. So they go, what does the fetus look like? Because this debate is raging. So they open her up, and they remove the fetus, which, of course, is also mummified, and this is what it looks like.
Really?
And that's a lithograph. That's a lithograph of it.
Well, and look, guys, if you see this picture, this is not boarding. This is not squeezing the head. This is You see this picture, and you're going to say, okay, hey, look, show this to your atheist friends. Show this to the unbelievers and say, okay, the Bible explains this. Can you explain it? And then watch them fumble and stumble. You got to get this book, guys.
And this, Stan, this is what's so important about what we're doing, because, again, it points back to the veracity of the biblical narrative. And what we see there is an elongated skull found in the womb of a pregnant woman who was mummified. I mean, the skeptics want to argue with that, but, I can't go back to 1842. We are trying to trace and find out where this artifact is. We think we know where it's kept. But again, all these places are heavily guarded. What I mean by that, it's very difficult to see anything anywhere. I mean, all the information, it's like you've got to have this permit, this archaeologist, this permission, only on this day. It's very difficult to find anything.
Right. The elites try to cut it off.
We're on the trail.
Well, like I interviewed another fella probably 15, 20 years ago, and this guy said he was in France, and he bribed the guy, the guard, that was not supposed to let him in, to open the gate. They had a steel wrought iron gate to keep people out of this cave. And he said there was no lights in there, and no one was ever allowed in there, but he had infrared film. He went in and started shooting shots in all directions, went and had the film developed, and he says, I can tell you absolutely positively, in that cave, there was proof that humans did walk the earth with dinosaurs. Wow. Absolute positive proof. But and he says that there's a cover-up to keep the truth away from the people. And you're finding it too.
There's no question that there's a cover-up. Look at this picture here. This is the Chongo Skull. Here's a side view of it.
Oh, okay, let me explain what I'm seeing here, guys. Okay, the bottom part looks like, well, it's got 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. It doesn't look human, but the rest of the skull is about 3 times larger. So if you can imagine having another skull on top of, but only one set of eyes, nose, mouth, okay? But the skull is 3 times bigger. That's what we're looking at. In other words, this is not human. It's not some kind of a weird birth defect. But don't you have many of these? I mean, this is not any birth defect that would just happen once in a million years. Okay,
No,
this is a whole bloodline of people, right?
Yeah, the elongated skulls literally are everywhere in and around Paracas. I mean, the last time I was at the Changos Necropolis, I was there with Brian, a Wakaro, an archaeologist from Peru, several other people. And you remember, this place looks like the Sahara Desert. As I'm talking, I'll get you a picture and show you what I mean.
This is what they're doing right now. The Nephilim, these guys flying these anti-gravity flying saucers are coming down and mating with the daughters of men today. So this is what's happening. Now, I'm looking at a picture of a skull there.
This is a skull cap. As you're walking through the Changos Necropolis, all around you are bits of pottery and human remains, mummy wrappings, worry slingshots from 1,000 years ago. Here's a shot of what the Changos Necropolis looks like. I mean, it is one of the most barren places I have ever been in. It is just
a bone thrown out there is not even going to. Of course, bones go on for centuries, but it's not going to decay like we would think of here in the U.S. In other words, this is desert area, totally extremely dry.
Here's a really good shot. This is Senior Juan, the curator of the Paracas Museum. Okay. And behind him is what Changos looks like. That gives you a real good idea. It is a barren wasteland. Nothing grows there. It is a desert. The sand dunes, when the winds come up, the sand dunes will shift. So when you go there and you think you know the area, you come back 6 months later, it's all changed.
Wow.
And so the graves are buried, covered over, exposed. It's all over the map. The last time we were there, Stan, as we were leaving the Changos Necropolis, we were headed out. We had come in one way, we're leaving another way, okay? And we go, and about maybe 100 yards in front of me, I see this white object, and I go, wow, I wonder if that's a skull, to the guys that are with me. And I go, it's probably just a Clorox bottle. And as we got closer, we realized that it wasn't a Clorox bottle. And we found a very elongated skull. And then Brian Forrester, when we were walking to it, he was right on top of it. He ran up the hill to where, and he found the grave at the Wakaros, the grave robbers. For some reason, they got spooked, and we found 3 elongated skulls that day. 3 elongated skulls, and they're all 3 skulls now are in the Paracas History Museum for Senior Juan. So we were able to rescue those. The skulls are being sold in the black market for about $1,000 a piece. We know that there's someone in Belgium which is buying these things. We're not sure who.
To hide them.
Well, Belgium is a hotbed of occult activity. We also know that shamans in Bolivia confiscate some of these items and do their ceremonies with them. So, I mean, all this stuff is going on behind the scenes. If these are, in fact, Nephilim skulls, which we believe they are, they may be highly charged demonically. And I think that's what, that's why the shamans and that's why the occultists are after them. Who knows? The DNA testing will bear it out one way or the other.
Okay, tell us about your 8th DVD set and your two books here. We're about run out of time.
Okay, Watchers 8. It's actually all 8 DVDs. It's the Watchers collection. Watchers 7, we won the Best Film Award at the EBE Film Festival, which is quite an honor. Many of these are an hour, 15 hour, 20 minutes. There's 8 full DVDs. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. The information in the Watchers series, as Dr. Stan Monteith used to say, in order to understand what's going on in the end times, you must understand Watchers. That's a direct quote from Dr. Stan. It's a fantastic deal. The price, if you were to buy each one individually at $20, because that's what we retail them, it'd be $160. So you're getting quite a deal here. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed in them. Then, of course, we got On the Trail Volume 1 and Volume 2. It's an oversized book, full-colored pictures. And as you can see here, the pictures are all the way through the book. They're not like in a centerfold. As you're reading, you just look up and there's a picture. And so it really gives the reader a feel for actually being there.
Giant pictures. Okay, yeah, full size. And I'm going to say at least 8.5 by 11.
It is.
Maybe, yeah, there's a double.
And we need to talk about this site at some point, maybe in the next interview. This is called Sacsayhuaman. It's up near Cusco in Peru at about 13,000 feet above sea level. It is absolutely astounding. And we have come to call sites like this fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture.
Wow. Okay, guys, let me restate this. Grab your cell phones right now. You're going to type in 785-266-1112. Type it in, 785-266-1112. I'm sure we don't have this on the website yet. 785-266-1112. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to call in and get the Watchers 8 DVD sets. Yeah, you're going to love it. All 8 DVDs, $120 gift, and the 2 books on the trail of the Nephilim, 1 and 2. Each one of those books is $25. Call 785-266-1112. No, it's not available anyplace else. 785-266-1112. As a matter of fact, L.A., I think you're about the only one out researching and talking on this to this level. Is that correct?
I mean, I don't know anybody else actually in the field doing this stuff. We've got a lot of, not many, we've got a few armchair critics who are trying to tell us, oh, all this is cradle headboarding, don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. And they don't know what
always
they're talking
there.
about. They've never been there.
Anything that has truth in it, anything Christian, there's always somebody someplace with another bad word to say about it.
Absolutely.
Hold on, because I want to do another broadcast right after this. Now, folks, you've been listening to L.A. Marzulli, and he's got these 8 DVDs. You got to get them. Watchers 1 through 8, $120 gift. The 2 books on the trail of Nephilim, 1 and 2, $25 each. Call 785-266-1112. 785-266-1112. Type it into your cell phone. 785-266-1112. 8 DVDs. You got to get them. Watchers 1 through 8, $120 gift. The 2 books on the trail of Nephilim, 1 and 2, $25 each. Call 785-266-1112. 785-266-1112. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers. And thank you for your monthly support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. Shocking heresy and blasphemy. Using over 100 video clips, you will see large, well-known ministers making shocking statements contrary to the Bible. So bad, you'll have to see it to believe it. See, some of most popular pastors seduce you with lying signs and wonders. Teach a false Christ. Yes, it is true. Your mouth will fall open. The worst sins of the Bible in these DVDs called Error in the Church. Nation-killing sins in America. You won't be disappointed. You'll be furious, beyond angry. I thank God that Leslie showed me these shocking errors, and I would never have known it or believed it if I had not actually seen it. Call today and give a $50 gift, and we will immediately ship you the first 3 DVDs. 30 days later, we'll charge your card for the second $50 gift, then send you the final 8 DVDs, totaling 11 DVDs. 30 days later, we'll charge the third $50 gift. 30 days later, the fourth and final $50 gift, making it easy for you to get this fantastic set of 11 DVDs. That is 4 monthly gifts of $50 each. Error in the Church, 13 topics, 11 DVDs, valued at $330. Get started today for a gift of just $50. Call 785-266-1112 and ask them for the Error in the Church offer. $50 donation gets you 3 DVDs heading your way today. Error in the Church, 785-266-1112. Error in the Church, 785-266-1112. Call today. Yes, you can still get the 2 DVDs by Michael Snyder, Prepare for the Economic Collapse, World War III, and the Regathering of the 10 Lost Tribes of Israel, for a gift of $50. However, the best deal is get the April gift offer, which includes the last 4 speakers having 6 DVDs, a value of $180 for a gift of just $90. In addition to Michael Snyder's 2 DVDs, you get Standing for the Lord, which tells the amazing story of how God got Christine Weick past 2 key entry doors and 2 checkpoints to proclaim Jesus is Lord during Muslims worshiping Allah in a Christian church. Then in Prophecies and the Bible Codes, Jonathan Wright is the only Christian that is researching Bible prophecy in the Bible Codes. He's found amazing information presented in over 100 charts in this triple DVD set. So that would be 6 DVDs over the last 4 speakers at the Prophecy Club in the April gift offer, valued at $180 for a gift of just $90. Call 785-266-1112 and ask for the April gift offer. or go to prophecyclub.com. That's the April gift offer: 4 speakers, 6 DVDs, valued at $180 for a gift of just $90. 785-266-1112 or prophecyclub.com. Order today.